Welcome to week 2 in the challenge. To keep the momentum going, we're going to dive right in right now and start talking about verbs. So far in these lessons, we've learned a lot about nouns and things that replace nouns, but we haven't talked much about verbs. We did mention the EAT test and how to identify a verb in a sentence. The thing is, most verbs will pass the EAT test. Sometimes people call verbs action words, but that's not a great, consistent way to identify verbs. Sometimes it works. For example, food jumps over the rainbow. So there's clearly an action going on here. The verb jumps. It's vivid and active, and it passes the EAT test. You could say, food eats over the rainbow. But what about this sentence? Food is my favorite thing. So in this case, the verb is the word is, but there's no action involved here. Nobody's jumping or swimming or running. However, you can tell that the word is here passes the EAT test. You could say, food eats my favorite thing. The thing is, verbs are not just action words. The way that verbs work is as a function in a sentence. Identifying verbs in a sentence is one of the trickiest but most fundamental skills for learning Spanish. It's very abstract, but it's important for understanding the mortar between the bricks, the tiny little words that hold the Spanish language together. So let's play the potato head game with this sentence a little bit. What do you make of this sentence? Eating is my favorite thing. The word eating here is functioning as a noun, and the word is the verb. This confuses a lot of people. Eating is an action, right? So that should be a verb. But in this sentence, it's not a verb. It passes the food test, not the EAT test. So not only is a verb not always an action is not always a verb. Last week, we used a sentence a lot like this one as an example. Getting lost in a new city is my favorite thing. Here, getting lost in a city looks like an action, but it's functioning as a big noun. The verb is the word is. Let's go back to this sentence. Eating is my favorite thing. The word eating is functioning as a noun. In English, we can replace the word eating with the phrase to eat. To eat is my favorite thing. What's going on here? Well, in both cases, we're trying to treat the idea of eating as a noun. And in English, there are two ways to do this. We can use the ing word eating, or we can use what we call the infinitive, which is to eat. They're actually completely exchangeable with each other when they're being treated as nouns. Both of them can mean the idea of eating. Here's another sentence example to demonstrate. We like food. We like swimming. We like to swim. So the important thing here is that a verb is not merely an action word. There are all kinds of action verbs, but to identify what's functioning as a verb in a sentence, do the EAT test. It'll work about 90% of the time. Now let's do a mini quiz and see if you can identify the verbs in sentences. Your cat loves to sleep. So to sleep looks like an action, but it's actually functioning as a noun. Your cat loves food, for example. The verb here is loves. How about this one? Overfeeding your fish causes health problems. In this sentence, health problems is a noun, overfeeding your fish functions as a noun, and causes is the verb. You could say food causes health problems, or overfeeding your fish causes food. The verb is causes. Next, I hope that he is your friend. Here, we actually have two verbs. So the verbs are hope and is. We have a conjunction there in the middle. And now we come to the main thrust of this entire week in the course, which is that there are certain verbs that really don't seem to mean much of anything. I mean, if you look back at all of the sentences that we've used in this video so far, some of the verbs are just much more vivid than others. Some verbs, like jumps and eats and loves and likes and causes, contain some interesting, vivid information. But verbs like is don't really mean much at all by themselves. This word, is just used to link two pieces of information together. There's a name for this kind of verb, linking verbs, and although they don't mean much by themselves, they're the mortar that holds a lot of Spanish sentences together. Today we're going to start learning the number one most common verb in the Spanish language, the linking verb ser, which roughly means to be or is.